Make a video.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's right.
Boom, boom, boom.
Hey, keep your distance.
Social distancing.
Social distance.
So,
yeah.
God, we're gonna have to go right. We have to start with social distancing.
I think so. I mean, that's.
So, what is the
pretty much-
appropriate distance?
I mean, it just depends who's. I mean, well, they're saying what, 6 feet?
Really? Now they are saying.
I mean, that's what I've heard. What do you hear?
God,
You know,
who is
what
they, anyways?
Right, exactly.
Right?
The
Yeah,
one
yeah.
shutting us down. Right.
Oh God. Well, here we are. This is
Exactly.
an interesting time here.
Very interesting, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions on how things are impacting the mortgage market. I mean, big news last weekend with the Fed's dropping rates, and I've had buyers and sellers calling me going, hey, what's going on? What do we do? And I mean, a lot of it's just, unfortunately, don't know. I mean, as this unfolds, as counties go on lockdown, as we kind of we're preparing ourselves for what's going to happen, or what we predict is going to happen. We just don't have the answers quite yet.
Yeah.
Although I can say confidently that that we do need to just like give each other some space and be a little extra sensitive, be kind, slow things down a little bit, and making moves that are a little bit more
100%, yeah.
methodical and conscious of what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's I think that it is a different time, but I think really being there's a lot of positive I think to this, and as much as there is uncertainty, I think a lot of people are really trying to take the precautions just to be safe and do the right thing. And I think the most important thing is that this too shall pass. This is something that ultimately taking precautions that in the long run it will pay off. I think that obviously the things that we're feeling the immediate I guess pain on is just the uncertainty, as
A lot
far
of fear.
as a lot
Fear
of
out
fear.
there. What's going to happen? What is, what's going to, over the next week, how are we going to be, what are things going to look like, right?
Absolutely.
Stock market, diving again on yesterday, and then again, just a lot of uncertainty. I think
Absolutely.
That's what is really out there. And, what I was out showing property this weekend. Saturday, I was in Healdsburg, over to Napa, and then back to Santa Rosa and Sonoma County. But showings were still on, people were still out looking at property. It's a very good sign. Sellers are still taking appointments. However, we were very conscientious about washing our hands. Hey, no handshakes. Even opening doorknobs. So what I'm seeing is sellers and agents being preparing for that too, right? Hey, set the stage before you go out. Have your sanitizer. Talk about it. Do those things. How are you feeling? Even that self-awareness. Like, hey, I'm not feeling that great. Hey, let's just stay home.
Right.
Call it off. Not do it. Let's not push it. And ultimately, you may get through it, but it's who could get infected.
Thinking about the ripple
pass
effect.
it on. The ripple effect.
The
exactly.
ripple effect, and I think that is the positive thing about all this. And as well, one thing I do want to mention is that there is a lot of opportunity right now. Just like if you go back to 2008, when the financial crisis took place, it was a very painful time. And I look at like what we're going through now, and I see obviously a lot of parallels, and a lot of the top economic forecasters over the last 2-3 years have been predicting that a recession is coming. Nobody predicted the coronavirus,
Right.
But this was kind of the writing was on the wall in a way where there was going to be a recession coming, and I think that ultimately we'll probably be seeing that, and this definitely was a catalyst.
Definitely kickstarting things.
And I think really important point here is that mortgage interest rates are a very hot topic right now, and they have been. Particularly since the 3rd, I believe it was the 3rd or the 4th of March is when the Fed did their first rate cut, 50 basis points or 0.5%. which caused a very, very huge influx of new mortgage applications, particularly to refinance. So
that's when they went down, what, half?
Yeah. So I mean, your average interest rate was hovering, on a 30-year fix between, call it 3.625 and 4%. A lot of variables go into that average, rate, but ultimately going down anywhere from 3 to 3.25% on average. So as soon as that happened, I mean, this all happened or transpired over a period of a few days. Right. A huge number of applications. Just to give you some perspective, I mean, just our branch locked in 130 loans. I mean, in a matter of 10 days.
Wow.
And that's a pretty good amount of applications to do. And
what do you, just so I have a framework, like how many applications typically in a month?
So typically, I mean,
or even a week.
So this time of year, I would say that a good month would be probably 40 applications.
So you're like doubling that.
And this is a slower time of year. Yeah. So we're more than doubling
within
that.
A week.
Within a week. So and look, every lender is experiencing this right now. So I think what ended up happening was over that 10-day period, around the 13, or I'm sorry, around, I think it was around the 11th, they started to sharply, go up.
Right.
So we were seeing fluctuations in interest rates where all of a sudden, somebody might have been at a 3.25% to 4.5%, within probably a week or so.
And is that like right now, where you're seeing rates, and what do you think is going to be happening in the next couple of weeks?
Well, this is the key. The key is obviously I think it's the capacity issue that I can't see when they're actually going to really drop rates down to where I think they should be in line with what the bond market, the secondary market is doing. But let me explain. So when we got that second rate cut to 0%, that was
Sunday.
Fed cutting the rate to 0%. I mean, my phone was just blowing up. I mean, basically, the Fed dropped the rate to 0%. That means we can get a 0% mortgage.
Typical perception.
Yes, typical perception. And so I've been taking a very proactive approach about trying to educate, a lot of the people that have the questions personally on what it means. Basically, the Fed rate that drop is basically the rate from which larger banks and can borrow from each other at. It does not necessarily have a direct impact on mortgage rates. It has an indirect, like everything has an impact, but it's very indirect.
Right. So it does. Yeah. There's not a direct correlation, but over time, I guess, is maybe this initial flood of applications kind of slows down a little bit.
Yes.
Banks will recover, and they have liquidity concerns, I imagine, going on too, because they have a certain amount of money to fund those loans. As new money comes in, refis come in, they need to keep pace with that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's going to have a little bit of it's going to have an impact on what rates do too. When those banks, as you'd mentioned before, they can artificially increase those rates to slow things down, and then over time come back down to where they.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, they have to be able to, right now, obviously, the institutions are looking to basically, they're looking at the market expanding, so they're having to hire temporary, employees and beef up their staff in order to basically get through these times, because it wasn't something that they predicted.
Got a lot more to manage.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say on home values, there's conversations with sellers, like what is this going to be doing and how, and a lot of what was influencing what we're seeing, as far as buyers out there, was watching the rates, where that, because that's just, quite frankly, is going to increase buying power, right? I mean,
absolutely,
fundamentally. So
that's really helped keep things stable.
So, right, exactly. So we're, the question is coming up. What do we do right now? It's going back to what I was initially saying, is too early to tell. Rates kind of took a little bit of an increase despite the Fed's drop. So what's going to happen? I mean, being on lockdown is kind of, let's kind of take it one day at a time. But
that's the key. Is really taking it one day at a time. And I will say this. Here's the most, I think, real optimistic thing about this is that Fed rate cut, even though it doesn't mean you're getting a 0% mortgage, it does mean that the government is basically committed to keeping rates low and stimulating the economy right now. So that commitment is very important to the overall confidence that we can have and lending institutions can have that their rates are going to stay low. And one of the things that triggered that confidence for, I think, bonds and what's going to happen with mortgage rates is the commitment to purchase $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities, which is the main driver of mortgage interest rates. So that actually hasn't, I believe, been factored into mortgage rates where they're at today, because what's being factored into mortgage rates today are the record number of applications that they're basically looking to just work through. But as you were just indicating, as they get worked through, along with the commitment to keep rates low, I would bet that rates should stay low for some time. One of the things that you want to do if you are looking to refinance or buy, one of the things that we do for a purchase, very, very important, is right now you can do a lock and shop. So if the rate that you see today is attractive enough and basically a rate that you need to qualify, we can lock you today. There's a kind of a refundable deposit up front on that, but it will keep you locked for 5 months.
What's the cost on that?
Half a point.
Half a point. Okay.
Right?
Well,
and
that's good.
it's refunded back to you towards your closing costs. And if for some reason you don't find a property, we can either renew it or you get your money back. I mean, it's kind of like right now in this market, it's your again.
You only incur it if you move forward. So
exactly. And right now, I gotta tell you, when I have a client that's given me a call last week talking about writing an offer, who was approved, looking, estimating his rate at 3.375, all of a sudden with all this stuff going on, now he's at 4.5. It makes a huge difference, and really, I mean, we're just talking a matter of days. So that that individual or you, if you're looking, or somebody you can lock, and then you can also go out and shop knowing that you have the peace of mind getting that rate. And the other piece to it as well is that a couple months down the road, you find the house. If rates are better, you can float down at that.
There you go. Yeah. So pretty low risk there.
Yeah.
We're talking about maybe doing a live session too, answering questions as they come up. So look out for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, message us if there's anything, topics or what we covered today you want to revisit. So let us know. Reach out to us. Tim Rangel, Sotheby's International Realty.
Joe Jacobs, Loan Depot.
Yeah, where's Matt?
I don't know. He didn't get the red carpet. We had it all ready for him.
He's practicing.
He's practicing.
His distancing. Yeah.
Love you, bud.
All right. Yeah, see you, brother. All right. Cheers.
See ya.